is actually his 26th birthday. Luka is one of 2 players with 10,000 points, 3,000 rebounds, and 3,000 assists before turning 26. LeBron James is the other. So 2 players in NBA history have done this. They are teammates as we speak. Obviously, LeBron now much closer to the end than to the beginning. But it just goes to show you the extraordinary talent that this team has. Just keep a close eye. Something special is happening in L.A. Wendy, stay close. Everyone stay with me. I'm going to the NFL next because there's a big story this morning on the big story in the league. The Las Vegas Journal-Review is reporting that Matthew Stafford's camp and the Las Vegas Raiders have found common ground on what a potential contract in Vegas could look like. The question is, will the Raiders and Rams make a trade, or will Stafford elect to stay in L.A.? He wants more money from the Rams, who gave him permission to speak to other teams. So I've got a lot of ears and eyes and everything else on the ground in Indy this morning. I got Louis Riddick, I got Mike Tannenbaum, and I start with you, Dan Graziano. What are you hearing on this with Stafford?
Yeah, look, I mean, the Las Vegas Journal-Review, certainly accurate, but I would add that Matthew Stafford also knows what a contract with the New York Giants would look like at this point. He's had permission to talk to teams for a couple of weeks, and I think everything's on the table. Matthew Stafford and the Rams are at an impasse in terms of the contract negotiations. I think he is probably still hoping that they move a little bit in his direction and he ends up being able to stay there. But I think if the Rams don't, then I think he has to consider, Matthew Stafford, which offer, whether it's the Raiders, whether it's the Giants, that he would rather have. And at that point, the Rams will certainly work out a trade with whichever team that turns out to be. Greeny, I continue to think a resolution on this has to happen very soon, like within the next day or so, because all of these teams, all 3 of these teams, and anybody else who might have been involved in this, needs to know whether they need to move on to Plan B.
Day or so is right up my alley. So we've got the urgency that we're looking for. And Mike T, you were telling me this morning in our meeting that if you're the Rams, there's another conversation that you are having at the exact same time to make sure you got your bases covered.
Yeah, if I'm the Rams, I'm hitting pause talking to the Raiders or the Giants, and I'm talking to Aaron Rodgers, and here's why. We have a great young team. We have
gone through since about January 21st, where up until that point, they had been about bottom 8 in the NBA in defensive rating, bottom 8 in field goal percentage allowed. Now they're number 1 in both categories in the 17 games since. The big question, though, can you maintain that through the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs? Because that's what's going to determine how far they go, not whether or not Luka can drop 40 points a game.
Win-man.
The J.J. Redick is doing something, I don't know if it's innovative or risky. He doesn't have really a good big man rotation, so he's ordered his team to collapse the paint. And if you watch them play, they're basically betting that these opposing teams aren't as good at shooting threes as they think they are. J.J. Redick, a brilliant three-point shooter, probably gets annoyed seeing how many people try to shoot a lot of threes. For this last month, they've just basically invited other teams to shoot threes. They're giving up the 3rd most number of threes. Teams are missing them. You know, when you dive into the numbers, I mean, Hembo can break it down to you. The Lakers' luck quotient right now is kind of high. The teams are shooting a lower percentage than they quote-unquote should against them, but maybe you could argue that that's JJ just betting on it, saying, listen, let them shoot these threes because we don't think that they're going to make them. So there is a question of whether this is sustainable, but it's now been quite a while. And it is working. It is covering up for their lack of size on the interior. And frankly, it is driving the way the Lakers are playing right now, this J.J. Redick's defensive scheme.
That's really smart and interesting insight, and the tape was absolutely perfect. Rudy, it's funny because you and I were having a conversation this morning about how NBA teams these days want to get up 40, 50 threes a game. What do you think of that strategy? Let them shoot their threes. Let them miss their shots. We will pack it in defensively because we're undersized and we'll take our chances.
Well, from what I've watched, I mean, it's just classic coaching. This is great coaching by JJ. You have your shooters on your opposing teams, you run them off the line, and let the other guys shoot. Let them beat you. And I think that's, that's great awareness by JJ.
I want to finish the conversation with one other thing, because I found this stat remarkable, Cindy, A32 if we could. Yesterday was the last to witness all of it up close and personal. What are we seeing in the struggles here of Luka Doncic?
Yeah, well, his legs just are absolutely not there. When you watch him, he is carrying a big load for them. And that is helping unlock LeBron. LeBron is putting up really good numbers. But you watch him, especially when he's at the end of his shifts, he's overstanding on the side, bent over, holding his shorts. his legs aren't there, and you can see it in his shot. But he is still making an impact. He's rebounding the ball perfectly. He's been in the middle of their offense and creating a lot of stuff. And they're not playing their best basketball right now. They're still figuring things out, but they're really defending, and they've won 9 out of 11 games. And I think I have no doubts that Luka is going to get going on offense. I have zero concern on that whatsoever. I do think, I wonder if the Lakers can keep up this level of defense. They had another good defensive game last night, but obviously Luka still coming back off that calf issue.
He has no doubt about about Luka's ability to get it going. Do you? Do you think Luka gets it going offensively?
Not at all. Not at all. I think he has the luxury of having a LeBron James on his team that can carry the load until he's ready. He's had injuries.
Yeah.
Trades. There's a lot of emotional, things that go on, with trades and him getting back from injury all at once. It's going to take time for him to get his
How
legs.
long? We've got what is it? 7 weeks left in the season?
Yeah, we need answers now, Rudy.
Well, when you have a competitor on your team and you also have a guy like LeBron that you can see that is giving it his all every day, it makes you want to push to get to that level fast.
Well, and to the point that Fortenbaugh was making, seeding is going to wind up being critical here. Now, we don't really know exactly how it's going to work out, which is to say, in a Styles makes fights kind of way, you don't know what slot winds up being the one that you want to be in, but they've got X amount of time to get themselves to be where they want to be at the end of April.
Right now, Luka's shooting a career worst from the field, under 40%. He's got a career worst from three-point range, and they're still 5-2 since he showed up. That's a great spot to be in. In the modern NBA, your offense is your floor, okay? Everybody plays offense. The Orlando Magic ranked dead last in the NBA in scoring at about 104 points per game. You take that 10 years ago, that's a top 5 scoring offense.
Yes.
Defense is what matters now, and the transformation the Laker defense has